Hey YouTube, it's Edith here. I'm just coming in to talk about what Vanguard needs to do to really be the best Call of Duty that we've ever seen and its integration into Warzone, what that all looks like. But in order for them to actually do a decent job, there are 10 things that I have listed that they really need to do. But before I get into that, if you like what you're seeing, please, if you don't mind, please like and subscribe to this video and tell your friends, family, significant others, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 8th, 9th cousins about what you're seeing here. We stream on Twitch every day, or every other day, not every day. On Monday, Wednesday, Friday from about 11 to 5. And sometimes on Saturdays, so we'll see if we end up doing that this weekend. But it's to be determined. So just stick with us. Appreciate the love. Like and subscribe. But here are the 10 list options that I have for Vanguard to be better. First is obviously an anti-cheat. Now, they've already announced that they're going to have an anti-cheat system. But do we really understand what that is? Because based on what we know so far with this anti-cheat that they've been putting into Warzone and in Cold War, it doesn't really do anything. So they say they're going to have a whole new anti-cheat system. They say that they've banned, X amount of players from hacking and all these different accounts. But all we have is their word of mouth. We haven't really seen it in action, really, because there are days where you get hacked on a lot more than others. If you have a higher KD, your chances of interacting with a hacker are significantly higher because of the KD that they've mustered based on their hacking performance in previous games and with other accounts. So the first thing that they need to have is an anti-cheat. They need to run it on multiplayer just to get the ball rolling, and then they really need to get it into Warzone. And they said that I've seen some rumors around that the anti-cheat's like really up there now, like it's basically done. But I think this is one of those things where you know it when you see it, because they released a game, Modern Warfare and Warzone, with a supposed anti-cheat in place, and that obviously did not work out. So the number one thing they really need to add is an anti-cheat for Vanguard to actually be successful and get the ball rolling and keep people playing that game instead of playing other games like Fortnite, Apex, and the like. The second thing on the list that Vanguard needs to do that'll keep people around and make it a better game than Modern Warfare, Warzone, and Cold War is original maps and no reskins. I know like people love nostalgia. People love playing on older maps that have been remastered, and they relive some of what they had when they were kids. But here's the thing. You're a better gamer than you were as a kid. So you're going to be playing better people. The maps are still going to be a little bit different, so they're not quite the same. Plus, those experiences you had as a kid will never be the same when you're older. That being said, original maps that are remastered are fun for like a week, and then they're annoying because people already know the spots to those maps, and so it's a lot harder to win. And so I feel like if there's more originality in the maps and there's more catering to the maps to people who can, one, either camp, move around, or a mix of both, you cater to the average gamer a lot more. You cater to the skill sets of different gamers a lot more with original maps because people don't know them, they have to learn them, they have to play them. So you'll actually hold people more onto multiplayer than you would, in any other game if you have original maps more than just a reskin. And I think that's very important. So I think if Vanguard were able to do that, they'll keep more people within their multiplayer system, grinding out stuff for Warzone a lot more. And I think people will be fully moving on from the Modern Warfare multiplayer, and especially from the Cold War multiplayer, into these maps that are brand new, they're original, people want to experience them. And I think that's part of the hype of Warzone as well, with their new map centered around the Pacific. People want something new. As much as Verdansk was great and it was new for a while, it lasted too long, and so people didn't want to be there anymore. And so now we get this new map, people want to experience this. They want to experience everything that's new. So if Vanguard takes this excitement and they move it on to the multiplayer and they make new maps, I mean, even if it's based off of like Call of Duty 2 Big Red 1 or Call of Duty Finest Hour or anything like that, it's still going to be way different than it was back then, because there were no multiplayer experiences with both those games. They were purely campaigns. So if they were to take those and then just reskin them or something, people still won't know what they are. They'll still be original. So I think if they do something like that, that'll be another thing that'll keep people really excited and really happy about Vanguard and that integration into Warzone than in Cold War and Modern Warfare. The third item on the list is a competitive playlist for multiplayer in Warzone. So we have league play and stuff. I'll start with the multiplayer. So we have league play and stuff with like Cold War, being like this more competitive format where you have your own KD with it, you rank up into different systems, but it's really not that great. And so here's what they need to do. I think one of the better competitive playlist options that they could do, they can mimic, is from Valorant or Apex. Apex more for the Warzone side, but I think Valorant would be a good thing to mimic for the multiplayer side. So basically, the way that skill-based matchmaking works is your KD, based on how many games you play as well, and all of this is an algorithm that puts you into lobbies where you play people that are exact same skill as you. And typically those lobbies are what you would consider sweaty because you're not necessarily popping off and getting a lot of kills because these people are as good or if not better than you. So you feel like you're challenged day in and day out to basically get as many, like just to stay alive and just get one kill and try to trade and go 1.0 in your KD. That's basically the mission of a skill-based matchmaking system, is you want to have a 1.0 KD or higher in multiplayer and Warzone. You want to be respectable with that. You want to brag about it. So if you're working hard for that, skill-based matchmaking is going to... the reason that you have to work hard is because skill-based matchmaking. So having a competitive playlist would not only broaden skill-based matchmaking for just regular public matches, but it'll focus skill-based matchmaking based on your rank and based on how many other people are within your rank. And so it'll basically even out your playing field, and it'll make it a lot more balanced. You'll actually be playing people who are a lot more like you in skill, as you have seen in competitive Valorant and competitive Apex. Now the issue is you're going to run into smurfing. That's just a you know, a trick of the trade. Like, that just happens with any competitive format. You're going to run into people who are trying to help their friends, or they just want to, you know, feel fun about playing the game again, and so they'll make a lower account that they're already, when they have like a platinum or diamond skill, and they just want to play in bronze, silver, and gold lobbies just so that they can feel better about themselves or play with teammates who aren't ranked as high as them. So I mean, that happens. That's just a way of life in competitive playlists. But if multiplayer were to have a competitive system like that, where you have to play 50 games of multiplayer to qualify to even get into comp, and then you start playing comp and you can be ranked upon that system, I think people will have a lot more fun with that. They'll have something to earn and show off with their own skill set outside of KD, and I think people want that. I think people like that. As far as Warzone goes, it needs to be a lot like Apex, I think. I think Apex really did this well. I'm not a huge fan of the game Apex itself, but I think their competitive system is fantastic. So what that would look like is you'd probably start off like as low level as possible. You have to have a minimum games played in order to qualify to get into this ranked playlist, and then you'll just grind it out. And so you'll be playing against people who either start out in the same rank as you, or will have so many games playing comp and will level out in a specific rank where you play them. And so that'll actually, I think, minimize. If the anti-cheat system is not really existent, it'll minimize the effects of cheaters in these lower ranked lobbies. So if you have like between a 0.5 and a 1.0 KD and you're matching up in bronze and silver lobbies, your likelihood of meeting a hacker who has like a 50 some odd KD and who's in a master's lobby is significantly lower, because they're going to separate you based on purely on that. So really the only kind of hacking experience you'll have will be against people who have not been or who just made a new account, which, you know, they make a lot of new accounts, and, you know, that's a thing. Like I played with hackers who have had like 30 or 40 accounts and all that, but they're only going to be playing on one account at a time until they get banned or shadow banned. So that's important to note. And so I think that's why the competitive playlist will be ideal for both Warzone and multiplayer, because it'll provide the gamer something to actually work for and grind for outside of like master camos and rank or prestige, because prestige is really in Modern Warfare and Cold War kind of rendered useless. Basically, if you just gave, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours of time a week to gaming, you'll get, or to Cold War and Modern Warfare, you'll get top prestige for that season. So people want something else to work for. So they need to add that. 4, speaking of camos, there need to be better camos than Modern Warfare. So I grinded for Damascus pretty early whenever Modern Warfare dropped. And I got Damascus, and it was very underwhelming. It's not a good looking skin. It's like a skin that you can buy in a store, if that. It's just not very cool. Now, of course, everything's going to be overshadowed by how crazy wild the Cold War skins are. But Cold War did it right with the gold and the diamond, the camos this year. Those skins look outstanding. They're very appealing to the eye, especially in Warzone. And then the Zombies Master camos as well are pretty appealing to the eye, especially in Warzone now. Modern Warfare's camos weren't really appealing to the eye. The golds were okay, and the platinums were probably the best grinding skin that you can get. And then there's Obsidian too, which is only individual gun based, and it came out long after Damascus did. So they need to do something with the Master camos. They need to make them a little bit easier to grind than Modern Warfare. I like how I think that's actually a different point. That's my 10th point. No, it's not. I'm sorry. It's my 8th point. So I'll just combine those points. Easier. They need to be an easier grind in Master camo. So Cold War did it really well. Now some of the challenges I think were difficult. Like with SMGs in Cold War, you got to get point blank kills, and that seems self-explanatory. But that's actually really challenging in lobbies where people are as good, if not better, than you. So getting point blanks is extraordinarily challenging. But outside of that, I mean, it's fairly easy to get a master camo because what they did is they included DLC weapons as a method of getting diamond camos for your specific weapon class. So, for example, if any of you haven't done this yet, if you had all these DLC weapons outside, like let's talk about assault rifles. So in Cold War, you have Krig, FFAR, QBZ, AK-47, and XM4 and others. If you were to get gold in those, like in Modern Warfare, those would count towards Damascus, Dark Matter, whatever. But the way that Cold War did it is you could also get gold in a DLC weapon like the Farah or something like that, and that will count towards your diamond. So you only need 5 guns, like 5 assault rifles or 5 SMGs in Cold War gold for it to give you diamond. And you get Dark Matter by getting diamond, not by specifically getting the original class of guns gold. Modern Warfare was different. Modern Warfare, you had to get the original guns that came with the game gold and all of them in their class before you can get platinum, and then your platinums gave you Damascus. So it was a different system. It was harder to do. The DLC weapons didn't count towards your Damascus progress. If anything, it was just an achievement showing how much you liked the gun. So they need to make that easier. They need to continue what they did in Cold War and bring that into Vanguard. Who knows if they'll do that, because I don't really know how Sledgehammer is going to swing with that, and I did not play World War II for very good reasons. So there needs to be, my fourth point, there needs to be limited skill-based matchmaking outside of comp. I kind of touched on this earlier. So the skill-based matchmaking, as we've talked about, is incredibly harsh. So you have to get and another thing it does is it hurts your lobby. So you're not necessarily connecting to the best servers when skill-based matchmaking is a thing. You're basically connecting to the nearest server where the skill-based matchmaking fits your KD in. So that's why you get a lot of latency and a lot of lag. Sometimes it's not consistent because unless you use a VPN, it's not consistent because skill-based matchmaking is the algorithm that's generating your servers and your lobbies. So that's something to consider as well. If you want, if you're not in a competitive lobby, you need to broaden skill-based. Vanguard needs to broaden skill-based matchmaking. Excuse me. So that way people's connections are better. They can have really good games consecutively. They may have really bad games consecutively, but they're not constantly sweating to get to a 1.0 KD. And I think that's important. People want to just get off work. They want to play games. They want to have fun. And if they're coming out and they're having to sweat, and play a game that's, they want to play, but it's not really fun for them, they'll eventually move off the game. And that's something that we've seen with Warzone to Apex. So in order for Vanguard to avoid that and for them to bring people back, they need to do something about that algorithm, especially outside of competitive playlists. My fifth point was better camos in Modern Warfare. I already touched on that. 6, frequent jump fatigue. All right, so there are a lot of, I guess console players will call them, or controller users that complain about the jumping mechanic in Call of Duty. And it's not just Modern Warfare and Warzone, it's present in Cold War as well. And the issue with jumping is that you have, theoretically, I know it's a video game, okay? But theoretically, you have 50 plus pounds of equipment on your body when you're moving at any given point in any Call of Duty. And you're able to jump 3 or 4 times before the jump fatigue kicks in, and you're able to really hunt headshots and force a guy to hit lower parts of your body in order to win a fight. So the jumping fatigue needs to be present, or it needs to have something change with the gun. So it's obviously, in real life, it's impossible basically to jump while aim down sights and hit a target accurately. It's basically impossible. Even with a handgun, it's incredibly difficult. So in order for them to really try to make that as real as possible, I think what they would need to do is increase jump fatigue after 1 jump. Like they basically only give you 1 jump, and then when you do jump, you can't ADS. It removes you to a hip fire, and I think that's what they need to do to prevent that kind of, I guess, maneuver within the game. They want people to be able to be positioned well, and they want people to be able to have good aim. And if you're going up against someone who's jumping, you kind of remove both of those aspects of the game. So that all said, I think they need to increase the jump fatigue, and then when you jump, they need to put in a hip fire mechanic when you jump. So that's something that also needs to change. Number 7, we've kind of already seen this in the beta already, but they need to do something about the steps and the audio for the steps, and it needs to be redone. There are games where you can hear people, and then there are games where you can't hear absolutely anything, and they didn't even pop dead silence. They tried to fix it a little bit with what this new Warzone perk where you can a high alert. With high alert, they fixed it with high alert. So They want to be able to have you hear steps of people, even in dead silence in Warzone, with high alert. Now, that would be all great and dandy if, you know, cold-blooded didn't exist, because cold-blooded gets rid of any triggers from high alert. So if you have cold-blooded and you pop deady, they're not going to hear you. And cold-blooded also prevents you from being seen if someone has the combat recon or the combat scout perk. So they did it basically as like a virtue signal. Basically, they're like, okay, you guys don't like our steps, well, we're going to give you this, but we're also going to make sure that you guys still can't hear steps. So they need to do something with the step system and make it so that people can actually hear you from a fair distance away. Fortnite was really good about that. Apex is really good about that. There have been no problems with step audio in either of those games, especially in the battle royales. So Call of Duty needs to make a change there and make it so that it's more effective at hearing people. Typically, their multiplayer is pretty well balanced, but in Warzone it's been terrible. So they need to totally revamp that system so that way they can have people actually listen when people are coming up and sneaking up on you, dead silence or not. And then they also need to just reduce the amount of dead silences in the game. It's ridiculous. Number 9. Okay. So there's 2 things left. I already went over 8, which is an easier grind to master camo. Already did that. So there's 2 things left. Number 9, more expensive store items. Okay. So here's the thing. The battle pass is great because it's $10 and you can earn all that currency back. So theoretically, you could pay for 1 battle pass and you get all the rest of them for free. Technically. If you don't spend any other money anywhere else. You get all the items for free for every battle pass ever because of the COD points that you can earn in each battle pass. So you get $10 and you get dozens of skins for free, theoretically. But they put skins out there that are like $20. I think the most I've seen was $30, but they're typically between $10 and $20 to get a new skin, like outside. And they have like different variety packs that they put in there that you actually have to pay money for instead of for the money for the COD points and all that. But what needs to happen is that people are running around with all these skins all the time, and I get that people want to have some kind of identity with a cool skin and all that. Like they want it to be like your skin. Like my name's Heated, so any skin that has to do with fire, like I'm on board with. I'm like, oh, that's cool because my name's Heated. It's fire. It matches the brand, baby. So, you know, got to go for it. But they need to make skins more expensive, and here's why. They can still make money off of it. They're a $1 billion excuse me, they're a $1 billion company. They've already made X amount of dollars with all these small in-game purchases. If they were to increase the money for these bundles, people would still pay for them, and people would think about actually spending money on a skin that they would wear a lot. So it would save people money, but they would also still make a lot of money because people would still be willing to pay. It's kind of this weird little paradox. So they need to do that. And I'm glad they haven't made it pay to win yet, unlike other franchises with their other games. But that's one point. I think the skins need to be more expensive so that people actually can think about what kind of skins they want to use and all that. Plus with the glitches and all this, like there's some glitches with some skins sometimes. Like I use the Night Operator with in Cold War with the flames on him, and he wouldn't even show up in Warzone. Like I would be in the lobby and the skin would just be absent. But now they fixed it. But that took, you know, a half a season for them to fix. So it's like those things. Like fine-tune the skins, make them more expensive so you can keep tuning up on them, and then other people will get them and then figure it out. Last point. There needs to be an option to remove crossplay in Warzone. And this is a very contentious topic. I've been on both sides. But I think an issue that really boils down to removing crossplay for PC players is the aim assist of controller players, and for controller players it's the movement and the swing of direction and that speed of which PC players can move and aim. Okay, so I see both sides. They're both really good arguments on either side. To settle those arguments, you just remove crossplay from Warzone. And they opened it with Warzone because they wanted more people to be playing on the same servers and stuff. I think they wanted to be able to get more people in lobbies at the same time because they didn't know if 150 people would actually fill the lobbies. I would think, but it's pretty obvious that it's going to be a popular game and a popular addition to Warzone. So they need to be able to remove that option. Just remove crossplay. So if you're playing only with PC guys, you can play against other PC people, whether they're using controller, mouse, and keyboard. And then if you're on controller, you can just play with other controller people. I mean, they can just do it input method based. So controller players play controller players, mouse and keyboard play mouse and keyboard, or PC and PC on or Battle.net versus Battle.net, Xbox versus Xbox, or Xbox versus PS4, PS5, whatever. But they need to do that because there's a lot of complaints about the system that they're trying to please everybody, and it's not working. And there's really only one simple solution. But anyway, those are the 10 points that I've listed for Vanguard to be better than Modern Warfare and Cold War. This is what they need to do in order to make this a top tier Call of Duty, both in the multiplayer sense and in their additions to Warzone. I'm really excited for the game to come out. I believe it comes out early November. I will be playing the beta when it comes out for PC Early Access. So that should be next weekend. I will be there. Again, if you guys really like what you see or if you have opinions on it, like and subscribe to this channel. Leave me a comment. Come into stream on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays from 11 to 5, or sometimes Saturdays from 11 to 5, and we'll figure it out and we'll talk it over. But otherwise, have a good day. Stay heated, baby.